Welcome back to Chronic Health Solutions. Tell me if this sounds like you. It is just the beginning of December and your body already feels like you are not going to make it through the rest of the month. You are beyond exhausted, you're feeling run down, achy, overstimulated, and you're trying to manage this long list of shoulds and doing your best to support your kids who are feeling every shift in your routine, in their energy levels, in their schedule, and sometimes they are feeling this more intensely than you expected. Here's the thing that some people just don't realize. As a mom, you are not carrying your own stress. You are also carrying your child's stress and also helping to influence their nervous system too. So when you are living with chronic symptoms on top of that, December just hits differently. Today, I'm going to explain exactly why your body feels more overwhelmed during the holiday season, and then I'll give you 3 simple nervous system resets that you can use tonight to feel calmer and more supported. So let's get started. Welcome to Chronic Health Solutions. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have been where you are, battling chronic health symptoms and chronic illness, things like brain fog, joint pain, and fatigue that made me wonder if I'd ever feel like myself again. After uncovering root causes like stress, poor sleep, and hormone imbalance, I found simple health routines to begin to feel better, one simple habit at a time. Keeping up with your kids is not impossible. Pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time. All right, before we dive into our episode, I want to let you know about something special that is happening this week. The 2nd is my birthday, and so to celebrate my birthday week, I am going to be doing a flash sale on my one-on-one coaching sessions, and they are all going to be buy one, get one free. This is the perfect time to get support, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed, running on fumes, or you're feeling that familiar, I cannot keep doing this, I can't keep going on this way, pressure. If you have been wishing for more energy, more breathing room, and also just a way to feel like yourself again, then these sessions are going to help you go into the new year with a clear plan for creating consistent habits that are actually going to help you to feel better, not feel more stressed or burned out. When you grab these sessions, we are going to look at your symptoms, your energy, your routines, and the patterns that keep pulling you back into exhaustion. Then we're going to build some simple, doable steps that work with your schedule, even though life is full and crazy. So remember, it's 2 sessions for one price. A head start on your New Year's goals and a way to finally make progress without pushing yourself past your limits. This sale is going to go all week long until Friday, December 5th. And to find out more details, you can go to ashleybraden.com/coaching. That is ASHLEYBRADEN.com/COACHING. I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. A few years ago, I remember standing in my kitchen in early December, looking at the calendar and noticing there were all these things that I had to do, but my body was already crashing before we really had even gotten into the craziest part of the holiday season. My kids were also overwhelmed with the changes that were going on. You know, the brighter lights, the louder stores, the different routine, the transitions that they just weren't accustomed to. And because they were off, I became off. Because they were feeling overstimulated, my body felt more tense. Because they were escalating emotionally, my stress levels went up as well. That is whenever it hit me. I was not just carrying my own exhaustion, I was carrying theirs too. I was not just carrying my own stress, I was also carrying theirs. And friend, that might be exactly what is happening to you as well. So let's talk about, the truth is, and this is something that I wish that every mom, especially moms living with chronic symptoms, understood. You are not operating just and managing just one nervous system throughout the day. If you have kids, you're managing 2 nervous systems at a time. If you have more than one child, then you're managing 3, 4, 5 nervous systems. And that is really just a major load. And it's something that we just don't think about how much it truly impacts our everyday life. So, let's look at first, you're managing your own nervous system. Your body is already dealing with things like chronic fatigue, inflammation, hormone imbalance, brain fog, gut issues, anxiety. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. You're having these flare-ups, cycles of like crash, push and then crash and then flare-ups. You are feeling overstimulated. Your nervous system is constantly looking and scanning your environment and saying, do I have enough capacity? Am I about to crash? Can I keep going? Is this safe? What is going on in my world today? And just dealing with this alone would be a lot for anyone. But then we add in, you have your child or your children. And the thing about children is that they don't self-regulate. They co-regulate with you. And for moms who, especially for moms like me, and for so many of you who have neurodivergent kids, December can really increase the stress and strain that we feel in our homes, in ourselves, in our kids, because of, like I mentioned earlier, those unpredictable routines, the overstimulating environments, the emotional intensity that comes from not getting enough sleep, being off of your schedule, the sensory overload, the new transitions that we are not accustomed to, holiday chaos. A lot of times this can also bring up meltdowns in our kids that then we are trying to manage that and also help them work through that. It can bring up social pressure for us than when we feel like we have to do the things that everyone else expects of us. It also is just more people that we're around, more noise, and more demands. And the thing about it with your kids is you are their safe person. So you often absorb the brunt of kind of that emotional energy that they are putting out. And a lot of times if they are dysregulated, this becomes very overstimulating for you. If they are feeling overwhelmed, it increases that tenseness that you feel in your own body. If they have a lot of big feelings, then a lot of times that can cause us to just feel exhausted and fatigued. If you're dealing with meltdowns, then this can increase your stress levels and cause your cortisol levels to spike. So your nervous system is constantly trying to, one, stabilize itself, and then two, stabilize theirs, while also managing these chronic symptoms that you have. And that's something that's called dual load. So often this is actually the reason why you are feeling so drained right at the beginning of December. It is not because you're lazy. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you lack motivation, because you're doing something wrong, because you're not organized enough. All of those things that we tell ourselves. It is actually just biology. Your body is carrying this emotional, sensory, physical load for multiple nervous systems every single day. So of course you're going to feel exhausted. Of course your symptoms are going to flare up in December. Of course, you are crashing harder once you kind of get through the craziness of things. Of course, your body is just going to feel more sensitive. Nothing is wrong with you. Your nervous system is just simply overwhelmed by carrying this massive load. And a lot of times our body just pays the price for that. And I know this sounds very discouraging and almost depressing, but there is hope in this because the thing is, we don't have to have hours of quiet, this perfect morning routine, a color-coded plan, an organization chart, more discipline, more motivation to feel better. And while I think some of these things are great, I love a good calendar. I love having a routine. I love to be able to have times of quiet time. But at the same time, we have to be really realistic about what can we actually fit into our day right now. And if you don't already have an organization system, setting it up in December is probably not ideal. So let's look at what are some things that your nervous system are going to respond to the most to kind of give you the best bang for your buck. So we're looking at, small resets, tiny pauses throughout your day. It could be moments of just reminding your body that it is safe. It can be taking a minute to check in with yourself, see how you're feeling, release some tension, release some stress, and then also just see what kind of capacity do I have right now? Do I actually have the capacity to commit to everything that I've said I will do? And we will get into that on another episode later this week too. So the thing with these little shifts is that they can signal to your body, hey, we are safe, we can slow down, we can breathe. And the thing that's great is like when your nervous system feels safer, your chronic symptoms often are going to decrease too. And your children also, again, because children co-regulate, which means that they regulate with us. So if we can become regulated, if we can keep our nervous system in check, then often that benefit reflects onto them. And then we will notice that our kids are also able to be calmer, to be more in control, to have less meltdowns, to not overreact or emotionally react, have that emotional instability. So again, the goal here is not perfection. The goal really is to support yourself as you're carrying so much, really as you're carrying more than your body was ever meant to hold alone. So how can we figure out some ways to support our bodies, understanding this is just the reality of the situation we're in? So what are these small ways we can support ourselves? Okay, so let's talk about 3 different nervous system fixes that you can work on today. The first one is going to be to regulate you before you respond. So, and this really works with anyone. I mean, we're talking about that dynamic with our children, but this also comes into play with your spouse. It can come into play with family members, friends, all of that. So whenever you're in a difficult situation, whether that's with a child, a spouse, whatever, if and when there is an escalation, so let's say your child escalates, instead of just immediately responding, you need to focus on regulating yourself first. So this could be pausing and counting to 3, taking a deep breath. And, before you step into the situation and decide how you're going to react and respond, instead, take that 1 deep breath, pause for a second. A long exhale is going to tell your body you're safe. You do not have to absorb everything right now and also respond right away. We can take a minute before we address and handle this situation. And, I talk about the Power 9 in my coaching model. And so when we're looking at that, we want to have healthy habits that are going to create a solid foundation for health and healing. And what I love about this practice is that it really is going to support a few of my different Power 9, which would be like air, because we're taking that deep breath in. Stress, because we're, instead of fueling and kind of sticking in that fight or flight, we're stepping away from it, kind of taking a step back, taking a minute to have a reset and say, okay, before I respond, how can I give myself a minute? And then also emotions, again, because instead of just immediately reacting, we're taking a second to regroup before we respond. That way we're not giving them that reaction, that first reaction, which is often a stress response. Okay, the second thing we can do would be to reduce the sensory load tonight. This was a big one for me. I am a person who gets very visually overwhelmed. So clutter it can definitely overstimulate and overwhelm me. And I think this is why I love the calming ambiance of like candles and like the relaxing music and all of that, just because it is kind of that reverse of the visual overstimulation that I can often experience. So let's look at your environment and see what is it that is possibly overstimulating you and adding to that stress level that you have. And, for some people, it could be, hey, the lights are too bright in here and it's really making me feel overwhelmed. So maybe it's that you dim the lights. Maybe it's that there's background noise going on. It could be like a TV that a kid is watching, and that is just making you feel very overwhelmed. So you turn that off. Or maybe it's that, hey, I really do want that relaxing music and the background noise, so I'm going to add that in to create kind of a calming environment in my home. If you're like me, it could be that visual clutter. So you find one surface that every time you walk by it, you feel your stress levels rise because you need to deal with it, but you feel like you don't have time. So you just keep pushing it off. But maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to set a 5-minute timer. And I am going to work on clearing this one surface off because that is going to reduce my sensory load today. The thing that is helpful with this is that if we can give ourselves less sensory input, it is creating less stress on our body. It is also going to create fewer cortisol spikes for you, which of course is then going to reflect onto your kids as well. And the thing we need to keep in mind as well for our kids is that they can also be visually overstimulated. They can also be getting that sensory input from lights, from sounds, from the clutter, from whatever's going on in their environment. So if we can really focus on how can I find one thing today that I can reduce the sensory load in my home, in my environment? And then let's see how everyone reacts to that. Okay, the third thing is going to be to have a micro reset moment. I call this a mom micro reset moment because, and this is something I'm just big on. I feel like it's such a doable thing. It takes so little time, but can make a really big impact, especially when we're kind of in that fight or flight state. So just pick one micro reset and choose to do that today. It could be stepping outside for 30 seconds. It could be putting your hand on your heart, taking some deep breaths. It could be sitting in silence for 30 seconds. Maybe you close your eyes, drop your shoulders away from your ears. That's one thing whenever I feel stressed, and most of us do this. You will notice you tense your shoulders up and you bring them up towards your ears. So for me, putting my hand on my chest, taking a deep breath, dropping my shoulders down away from my ears, doing that for 30 seconds. And this is why I love this one, 30 seconds. We all have 30 seconds that we can do this. So maybe just taking that mom micro reset moment and building that into your day. The reason why I like this idea, one, like I said, is because it's so doable, but also these small moments are going to signal to your nervous system you are safe. And again, we know all of this flows into everyone else in our home as well. When we are able to be regulated, that affects our children and how they are able to regulate. All right, friends, here is your simple next step. I want you to pick one of these 3 resets, and I want you to try it today. I would love to hear from you how it went for you. Come over to our free Facebook group and share with us there. I will have that linked down in the show notes below if you guys want to join us. And again, just pick one. It doesn't have to be all of them. And then I want you to see how do things go after we do that one reset. All right, friends, that is all for this episode. I will be back tomorrow with another one, so I will see you back tomorrow. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.